Hey, what's happening, Bengals fans? It's Inside the Jungle live here at CincyJungle.com. Hey, 7-3-1. First place in a very crowded AFC North with a big win. I think that was a pretty good win there in Houston over the weekend. We'll talk about that this week. We'll get your thoughts. What we're thankful for. It is Thanksgiving. We'll also look ahead to Sunday's big game against the Tampa Bay Bucks. Glad you could join us here on this Tuesday night edition of Inside the Jungle. I'm Nick Suberling, hanging out with my three amigos. We'll start with the man with the big bushy beard in the middle, Mickey Metzer. Mickey, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing wonderful, Nick. How about yourself?
I'm doing great, man. I thought that was a good win. I thought Andy Dalton played well in Houston, a place where it's kind of been a house of horrors for him.
Absolutely. Second game on the road in a place where you got bad memories. He had family there. I'm glad it worked out.
It worked out well. I thought the Bengals played. I don't know if it was their best game in there, but they certainly played very well. Joining us on the left coast, going old school, Anthony Cosenza. How you doing, AC?
I made it, Nick. You switched the day on me, and I ended up making it. Aren't you happy?
I'm very happy you're here. I'm always happy you're here on the podcast.
No, it's good to see you guys, and I hope you're all doing well, and happy early Thanksgiving to all you guys.
Yeah, happy Thanksgiving to you and your family as well, AC. Last but not least, I leave him to the last because that mustache is just epic. Epic. Scott Mantel. How you doing, buddy?
Doing good. The mustache is looking strong. Bengals are looking strong. I think it's going to be a good Thanksgiving.
It's going to be
Get this baby stuck in some gravy.
Before the show, Scott was talking about all the food that's getting in that mustache now. That's just, I don't envy you.
I get to save it for later.
That's true. You do get to save it for later. Like we always do this week, let's start off with our best and worst. Since this was your idea, Mickey, I like kicking it off with you. Give us your best and worst this Sunday.
I didn't prepare, so my best is going to be, just off the top of my head, the play of Ray Maluga. I really think this guy's having, probably, it's a short stretch, but it's probably the best stretch of his career with the Bengals, and I just think he means so much to that linebacker core, stopping the run, that I'm just going to keep tipping my hat toward him. So I'm going to go, without much thought, that is my best. My worst, it's a tough one. I'm not one to complain about this because I think it's crybaby, but I'm going to say the refs. I really feel like it was just a poor showing, and I think on both sides, I think, there was calls that, were made against Houston that maybe weren't as blatant to Bengals fans because obviously, we don't care about those, but they just seem to be off. And, Marvin having to challenge twice, pretty early on for calls that just I thought were pretty easy to make. I think that's probably my worst. I bet when I think about it more, I could probably pick on the Bengals a little, but that's definitely my worst. I mean, Dalton did have his pick, right? But I don't know. I mean, he was pressured. Or the guy was. I mean, that goes on the refs. The guy was, lined up offsides. I don't know how you missed that.
Yeah, I think a good portion of the Bengals fans will agree with your worst. I thought that was a pretty poor showing by the referees. It started on the third play of the game when Gresham clearly in bounds, and Marvin forced to challenge that play. But how they miss Jadeveon Clowney lining up offside by basically an entire helmet. He lined up offside to begin with, and then he resets and is even more offside. Yet the line judge, I don't know what the hell he's looking at. How do you miss that play? I agree with you 100%. That's probably my worst as well. But I want to go back to your thoughts on Ray Maluga too, Mickey. The impact that he has had since he's returned, the rush defense has been fantastic. They held Alfred Blue in check, 16 carries, guys, for 46 yards. That's a nice 2.9-yard average. You'll take that all day from your defense. So I think a lot of that has to do with Maluga coming back.
I think so. I mean, I totally agree. And when you look at one of the biggest plays of the game, I'd say, where the Bengals go for it on fourth down, miss. Say the Texans put together a 99-yard drive there, that's a backbreaker. He didn't get the sack, or he didn't get the stop in the end zone, but the reason that that play was blown up is because Malaluga, drove through his hole and gave the running back nowhere to go. Geno Atkins was able to fall on him. But, I mean, that was just a huge play, and I put a lot of that on Malaluga.
Yeah, Malaluga's been fantastic since he returned, and I'm glad to see him. For as much as he's been criticized over the years in a Bengals uniform, I think he's having a really good year. So kudos to you, Mickey, on him being your best. AC, how about your best and worst?
Yeah, good call on the defense. Just a little quick side note. I mean, really, they only let up a net of 4 points in the game. I mean, you figure they got the safety, which gave the team 2 points, and they only let up 2 other field goals. Obviously, the other being the other score of being a pick six. So kudos to that defense. I'm going to say that my best, though, is just the Bengals really coming through on a lot of our predictions, bold predictions, score predictions. I mean, we threw out a lot of stuff last week, and they really came through on a lot of points, limiting J.J. Watt to minimal impact, holding the rush offense from the Texans to minimal impact. Andy Dalton was crisp, particularly in the first half of that football game. So, they really came through on a lot of our predictions, which, were obviously keys to victory there. So just an all-around pretty solid game by the Bengals. I'm going to say my worst is that pick six, and not just throwing the blame on the quarterback. That's just a part of the whole thing that happened. You guys mentioned the blown call by the officials. That's one portion. Some poor blocking on the play. Some guys came free to Dalton, forcing him to kind of rush a throw that he maybe didn't want to make. And then a poor throw by Dalton, admittedly. I mean, he kind of threw that inside on an out route, and the cornerback was there to pick it off. A.J. Green didn't really fight for it. That's another poor play right there. And then, of course, the guy who intercepted the ball, too, was a former Bengal, Jonathan Joseph. And, of course, the Bengals like to create a story whenever they can, I guess. So, Joseph didn't get the win, but I'm sure he got enough Gatorade at the end of the game.
Yeah, I keep going back, and as much as I want to fault Dalton for that pick six, the play should not have counted. I mean, I can't get over that. That to me just clearly I'm bothered by that. Scott Mantel, your best and worst of Sunday.
Best, I'm going to go with 2. I've got to jump on what Mickey said as well. I mean, you're not going to hear it from me very much. I'm a guy that bangs on Malaluga, but I'm not afraid to eat crow when I deserve to eat crow. And since he's come back, this has been a different defense. The run defense has been solid. He was the guy that led the big fourth down stand in New Orleans last week. He had the big pick this week. I mean, everything I complain about Malaluga, he's doing, tenfold right now. I mean, the guy looks like a different player, and the defense is responding. I mean, they just seem more confident with him on the field. So kudos to Ray. Kudos to him making me eat that crow. 1A would be Marshall Newhouse. I know he had to tackle J.J. Watt a couple of times, but, when it was all said and done, J.J. Watt had 0 impact on that game. He batted down 1 ball, and that was with Smith in there. Whether it was the Bengals getting the ball out of Dalton's hands fast or what, Newhouse at least held his own. And, that leads me to my worst, which I'm going to have to say is the Andre Smith injury. As well as Newhouse did play, I think that Andre Smith injury is going to be, I think that's gonna hurt. We saw that Newhouse was overwhelmed in that Cleveland game, and, I hope he's improved, but that concerns me on the right side.
Yeah, I think that the loss of Andre Smith will make an impact, but we'll discuss that a little bit further here on the program and dig into deeper about where the Bengals go from here at the right tackle spot and what they can do to help out Marshall Newhouse. Before we do that, my best, I think the rushing attack, 43 carries. How awesome was that? 139 yards. It's not a lot of yards on those 43 carries, but you know what they did? They held the ball for 39 minutes. You'll take that all day. And though the game was somewhat close at the end due to the crappy pick six that was allowed to happen, I mean, the Houston Texans were never in it offensively, and the Bengals, they controlled the game offensively through the ground attack. We saw Bernard come back, and though at times, he had 17 carries for 45 yards, and a lot of those carries he was hit in the backfield and hit in between the tackles. It seemed like he was hit kind of hard. I loved the way they managed and used the two running backs. Bernard got a lot of the bulk of the carries in the first half, and in the second half, they brought in the bruiser, Jeremy Hill, also known as the closer, as they mentioned during the telecast as well. And he was able to seal the deal there in the fourth quarter. 18 carries for Hill, 87 yards, 5 yards per carry. I thought the rushing attack was awesome against a pretty stout front seven from the Houston Texans. So that's my best. Obviously, I've already mentioned my worst had to be the officials, but I thought from a mental aspect, guys, and I want to get your thoughts on this. I thought that was a huge win in Houston, a place where it's kind of been a house of horrors for them. They went into Houston and they dominated the Texans, and you were there, Mickey, a couple years ago in the playoff game. I mean, the Texans, they had their number 2 of those years, but to go into Houston, I know Houston's down this year, but to go in and win and kind of get over that mental hurdle, I think is big for this team moving forward.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great win. You had to win that game to keep pace in the division. But I don't know that it was as epic as you're making it out. It wasn't a primetime game. They're not a playoff contender.
True.
You know what I mean? I get it that the last 3 times, they've had our number. And yeah, I mean, it is a big win, but it's almost like you don't want to make it bigger than it is because it means nothing if they drop this one to the Buccaneers or something. They have to continue those winning ways, and it is definitely a step in the right direction. They continue momentum. They're carrying on the road. We were hoping they would go 2-1 on this road trip. Now it looks like a strong, 3-0. So yeah, in that aspect, yes, it was a huge win for the season.
Not to mention, AC, they had beaten us 5 straight times. So to kind of get off that tonight as well, I think was good.
Yeah, and this team's giving them trouble. You mentioned that, Nick, and it was a quality win because, I mean, the Texans were 5-5 and playing some scrappy football. I do think that this Texans team is quite a bit less talented than the ones that beat them in the playoffs. I think we can all kind of admit that. But, it was a decent win. You look at it now and you go, wow, that was a great win, in New Orleans. That was a great win in Houston. And now we're kind of seeing them and you go, well, how good really is New Orleans? How good really is Houston? You don't really know. Either way, tough games to win on the road. It's always difficult to play on the road in those. Those are 2 pretty loud stadiums as well. So I guess in that respect, yes, I do agree that it was a big win. And right now, given how this division is playing out, every win is just critical. You got every team is just chasing each other, and that half-game lead the Bengals have on everybody else is kind of looming large at this point. So they can't really afford to lose any ground.
Yeah, I thought this division is crazy. I don't know if I've ever seen a division in November with teams with basically 3 or more wins over 500. That's ridiculous. That just goes to show you how good the division is too. But your thoughts, Scott, on the win in Houston and from a mental aspect.
Yeah, I mean, I think anytime you win on the road, it's a good win, and the Texans are 5-5, but that's a good ball club. They have a good front seven. Their secondary is not great, but that's a tough team. That's a team that just came off a pretty convincing win in Cleveland. So, it's not a win that should be overlooked. So I think it is big, especially coming off of that Cleveland loss where, a lot of people had buried the Bengals. I mean, the season was over at that point. I don't think there's any of us sitting here that thought they would win the next 2 games, let alone win them convincingly. So, if nothing else, just from that aspect, it's a good win.
Yeah, I agree. But I think that you brought up a good point, though, too, Scott. Moving forward with this team, what's going to happen at right tackle with Andre Smith, placed on IR today with a torn tricep? we saw Marshall Newhouse, and let's be fair too. Andre Smith has missed quite a bit of time this year, so it's not like Marshall Newhouse is just getting in there for the first time, seeing game action. He's been playing at right tackle for a couple weeks now, and I thought what he did on Sunday against J.J. Watt was pretty respectable. Was it pretty at times? No, but he got the job done. Moving forward, though, now with Newhouse at right tackle, they've had some other options as well. Don't forget a guy in the name of Tanner Hawkinson, who the Bengals drafted a couple years ago. We could see him maybe get some time there at right tackle if, for whatever reason, something drastic happens. But moving forward, if you're Hugh Jackson, Mickey, how do you help out Marshall Newhouse at right tackle so that he's not overwhelmed?
Well, I mean, I think you're going to see tight end over there. I think you're going to see, running back in the backfield. There's little things you can do. He's not going to face anyone like J.J. Watt, for the rest of the season. But, I mean, they signed a guy today. I don't know that, I think he's just a filler right now. But you play with the hand you're dealt, right? And trial by fire. I think we saw what Newhouse could do when his back was against the wall. Hopefully he improves every game. You know what I mean? I'm one of those people, and I've said it before, the more a line plays together, like it seems like they all kind of improve or deteriorate together. So hopefully, when he gets comfortable with the guys next to him and those are your guys, it tightens up a little.
Yeah, see, this is where I think that the potential return of Tyler Eifert is going to be key because, Mickey, you hit the nail on the head. I think they're going to need to have Gresham over there. And, for all we bang on Gresham for mental mistakes and other things, he has improved as a blocker. And I think they've used him as such in recent weeks pretty often. And that's probably why you're wondering, as the number one tight end, why isn't he getting more catches, more looks in the offense? I think they're using him as a blocker a little more often. So I think if you get Eifert back and you can use him as a passing target, and you maybe relegate, as unfortunate as it may be for Jermaine Gresham, you maybe relegate him to more blocking duties. Maybe you throw in Hewitt in that mix as well. They're going to need to come up with different options and more players to help assist Marshall Newhouse. I think he's going to struggle. I think Andre Smith's, the loss of him is going to really affect this team. For at times, Andre Smith plays like the third or fourth best player on the offensive line, and many other times he plays as the best offensive player on the line. So they're going to need to come up with something to help out that offense. And I think also, and you saw it a little bit in Houston, or quite a bit in Houston, the quick passes, getting the ball out quickly and not giving the defense an opportunity to get their defensive players in the backfield and rush Andy Dalton. I think a combination of all of that's going to need to take place.
Yeah, I think too, Scott, a lot of that's going to come down to play calling as well. I mean, Anthony mentioned the quick passes and getting the ball out of your hands quicker. That's going to come down to Hugh Jackson. And from a scheme standpoint, I think, as Mickey said, putting a tight end over there, putting Hewitt in the backfield there to chip as well. And guys like Jeremy Hill and Bernard have both shown that they can protect Andy Dalton back there as well. I don't think it's such a drastic loss, but I think it will have an impact in just other areas that you might not necessarily see. Did we lose Scott? Is he frozen?
He's either really serious.
He is intensely. Yeah, he's intensely staring at you, Nick. I think he was a little upset at the question.
Oh man. Okay, well maybe we'll see if we can get Scott back. Yeah, he's staring at me very intently. A little scary there. All right, we'll get Scott's thoughts when he returns from the podcast, and he bounced out. All right, we'll try to get Scott back here on the program. I want to go back to another topic from yesterday's game. Scott, are you there? Are you back with us?
I am back.
All right. We're glad we have you back. Your thoughts? I don't know if you heard anything that I just.
I heard nothing. So
Okay.
I'm going to go with who is Tyler Eifert.
I was just saying that the loss of Smith though might impact them a little bit moving forward. I think that there are ways that they can counter that, and who knows? Maybe Marshall Newhouse can get it together. I don't think he played bad on Sunday.
No, and this is where the loss of Anthony Collins does come into play. I mean, I was all for them not shelling out that big money for him, but that's what's been so nice over the last, couple of years is you got a guy like Anthony Collins that can come in when you do lose a tackle. They don't have that on this team. Yeah, I think you saw one of the ways they can do that on Sunday. They got the ball out of Andy's hands quick. That's one way. Just you get the ball out quick. The other way, I think AC said it was, you bring a tight end over there, you chip with a back, you help him out. You know, those are some ways that they can kind of negate, or hide Newhouse a little bit. I was a little bit surprised that they didn't sign. I don't think he's on anyone right now. Is Dennis Rowland? I thought for sure Rowland and the tight end eligible was going to be signed today, but I can't say I know much about the guy they did sign, but the right tackle, Newhouse played better, but it concerns me.
Yeah, there's another name out there that was a free agent. Thanks to Mickey for posting this link on one of the posts today at Cincy Jungle, the NFL.com/free agency. Travell Wharton, a guy that they signed a couple years ago as an unrestricted free agent. That was kind of their big splash. I don't know if you can see my air quotes. Big splash free agent signing that never panned out. He tore his ACL in the preseason, but he's also a free agent as well. So there's kind of a name you're like, oh, well, I don't know. Mickey, you want to add to that?
Interesting tidbit. The guy they did sign went to the same high school as Travell Wharton.
Oh, okay. Very cool.
You're not going to get that kind of insight anywhere else, Nick.
If I'm not mistaken, Jamon Meredith is his name. Is that correct, Mickey?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, there's a lot of, from what I could read on the Cincy Jungle site today, a lot of Michael Jackson jokes today. Shimon, you're going to have that. I'm sure he's never heard that before. But yeah, he's, from what I've read and from all accounts, he's been primarily a backup player in his time here in the NFL. Was drafted originally by the Green Bay Packers too. So
I just want to say something real quick too, and I know I'm the free agency guy here, and I'm a proponent of getting somewhat splashy in free agency, but I think again, you don't necessarily want to pay starter money to a backup like Anthony Collins, but I think that again, an issue like this when an entrenched starter actually goes down, not spending even a decent amount of money maybe on a tested veteran that you kind of can keep on the roster, that kind of hurts you. Yes, you can kind of consider Marshall Newhouse as that type of player, but he's had a spotty track record. He's had some shaky moments already with the Bengals. I just think that them not going and being a little more proactive this year in instances like this where you have kind of a contingency plan, they didn't really have that in place for a player like this. And who knows, maybe Newhouse steps up and plays better than we think. Maybe Tanner Hawkinson ends up being the guy. Maybe they shuffle some guys around and make some things happen. I don't know. But I just think that not being all that active hurts you in situations like this, especially as you're trying to make a playoff run down the stretch.
Yeah, they've got some guys too that can move around. That's one of the when you look at what the Bengals have done, throughout the draft and through signing college free agents, they've got some guys on the line that can play multiple spots, which you have to have. A guy like Mike Pollock, we've seen him play guard. He could probably play a little bit of tackle. And at one point they had him at center. So you got guys like him up there that if they need to in a pinch could probably play right tackle. And at worst, is it that much of a downgrade from what was happening there at right tackle with Marshall Newhouse in there, particularly in that Cleveland game? So, look, I'm not at all. I like Andre Smith. He's, at times he's one of the best right tackles in the league. We also saw him this year struggle at times. So, I just think at the position right now they're in, right tackle, I'm not concerned. I guess that's the way I look at it. And they ran the ball pretty well over the weekend. If they weren't running the football, maybe that's a different story. But they've run the ball the last 2 weeks, so I'm not all that concerned. I hope that Andre Smith gets better, and we could certainly use him in the future. But the triceps tear probably doesn't feel too great. Not great at all. Again, Bengals win over the weekend. Now 7-3-1. The rest of the division 7-4. Cleveland comes back in a crazy game against Atlanta. I don't know how they managed to do that. But again, if you want to get in touch, 404-946-3397 is the number to call. I want to know what you're thankful for this year, Bengals fans. So get in touch and let us know what you're thankful for. Let's welcome in Fatal Content to the program. Fatal, how you doing, buddy?
Hey, I'm doing well, gentlemen. Just picking up a little bit of this Heat game and showing you guys some love, man.
We see where your priorities are. Appreciate that, Fatal.
Yeah, man. How's everything with you guys, man? You enjoying this this week in preparation of this scrimmage we're about to have on Sunday?
Oh, scrimmage. No. You cannot do that in today's NFL. I mean, the Raiders beat the Chiefs. Nobody thought that was going to happen.
Listen, man. If the Bucks beat us this week, I'll cut my hair. That's how serious I am.
Wow. All right. Well, okay. I wish I had a sound effect for that drop that you just gave us.
Yeah, man. Hey, I'll just say this, man. I'll try to keep it short, man. I'll just say that that embarrassment against Cleveland, I think, shocked us into an attitude change, man. And it's an attitude change we needed. And we were despicable prior to that. I thought that we were very up and down and, just lollygagging through the games. And I think that the coaches and the players themselves have just taken on this new, proving the world wrong role. And I don't know what's pissed them off, but they look tough. They look tough lately, and we're only getting healthier.
Yeah, they definitely look tough. They've been a different team these last 2 weeks. It's refreshing to see. I'm glad that they I don't know why they had to lose to have that mentality, but okay. I mean, I'm glad they turned it around here in November. Before we get to your question of the night, Fatal, what are you thankful for this year for as far as the Bengals go?
As far as the Bengals go, I don't want to sound corny, but I'll say I'm thankful for you guys, man, and everybody in the chat room, man. This is a great experience talking to you guys every week and sharing a passion for the Bengals. So, I'm just thankful that we're still contending and we're not Raiders fans. And I'm glad that all you guys are cool, man. Mickey, you, Scotty, AC, you're the man, and everybody in the chat room that shows love, man. That's what I'm thankful for.
Oh, we're thankful for you as well. We appreciate you calling in each and every week and for supporting our podcast. Give it to us. Your question of the night.
Okay, man, I'm going to try to keep it short, but I see that the Broncos remaining schedule is Chiefs, Bills, Chargers, us, and the Raiders, right? And the Patriots is Packers, Chargers, Dolphins, Jets, and Bills. And our schedule is Bucks, Steelers, Browns, Broncos, and Steelers again. And I see that the 7-4 Colts, which I'm only running down the teams that are a factor in seeding. And the Colts have Redskins, Browns, Texans, Cowboys, and Titans. I know that's a lot to digest, but I was going to ask you guys to put on your hypothesizing cap, and where do you see us in terms of seeding by the end of the year based on schedules?
Good question. Appreciate the call, Fatal. We'll answer it now.
Take it easy, guys, man. Have a good Thanksgiving.
You too. Happy Thanksgiving, Fatal. Appreciate it. Who day?
Who day?
Question of the night. That's a good one as far as the seeding goes. Right now, if the season were to end today, the Bengals would be the 3rd seed hosting the Kansas City Chiefs, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong about that. But they would be the 3rd seed. I'm definitely for sure about that one. I'll kick it over to you first, Mickey. Where do they finish the year? Where does the AFC play out?
That's a tough one. I mean, I think we're. If I had to put money on something right now, I'd say the Bengals probably win the division, probably get that 3rd seed, and host that first playoff game. But I think that all comes down to that Monday night game against the Broncos. If there's a way the Bengals can slay that demon, then I think they get the first round bye, because that would be a huge win. Talk about a momentum game. I mean, you were talking Houston be a big win. You pull that one off that late in the season, that'd be pretty solid. So I'm going to say 3rd seed with the AFC North crown.
All right. I mean, that's a solid choice. How about you, AC?
I'm going to say either the 4th seed or the 6th seed. And the reason I say 4th seed is because you look at if you kind of predict some division winners, you say, okay, Denver's probably going to win that division. And if the Bengals lose to them, they would, and if there's somehow a similar record or whatever, they would fall behind them. They've already lost to the Patriots, and they'll probably win their division, and they've already lost to the Colts, who will probably win that division. So in that respect, if there's any kind of similar records, the Bengals would then be the 4th seed there if they won their division. Now, given how close this division race is, if the Bengals somehow stumble, maybe they only win 0 or 1 of the next 3 division games they have coming down the pike, they probably still would be in line for a wild card given their 2 wins against Baltimore and that tie that's going to throw a lot of things off. So I think they're probably going to finish with the 4th seed or the 6th seed.
AC says 4th or 6th, possibly a wild card team. Scotty Bantel, beam me up.
Fade was always bring the good questions. I'm going to say the 3 seed, and I think it's that tie that's going to get him the 3 seed. I take a look at the Bengals schedule, and I still think 10 wins is where they're going to end up, so 10-5-1, and I think they're going to win that 3 seed based off of that tie. So I will say 3 seed, win the division.
I look at the Colts. I see one more loss for them, and I think that will be to the Cowboys. The Colts we've seen have had a hard time defending the pass. Roethlisberger, he torched them, and I'd like to think that Tony Romo and the guys there in Dallas could throw the ball against the Colts. That could be a loss for them. Outside of that game, though, the Colts don't really have a game that they're really concerned about. But it is the NFL. You got to play them, right? Denver, they've got some really tough games in the month of December. They've got the Chargers, who they're still battling for a wild card spot. I believe they have the Chiefs again. That might be this weekend, though. So I think Denver's they've got some tough games as well. I like the fact that the Bengals, in the month of December, they've got 4 games with very familiar opponents. I think that's going to play into their hands and be beneficial as well. That's just my take on that. Scott, you want to add something to that?
Yeah, I was just taking a look at ESPN. They have a playoff projection, and for what it's worth, they actually have the Bengals currently missing the playoffs as the first team out. They have the Ravens as a 69% chance of making it. The Steelers making it as the 6th seed with a 52.5% chance, and the Bengals with a 47.6% chance of making the playoffs.
Gotta love ESPN. They're the best. Sarcasm. I don't know. I'm laying it on pretty thick. I don't see the Ravens. I mean, that was a big win last night against New Orleans, but I don't know. I think the Ravens are kind of. I don't see them making the postseason.
Well, yeah. What kills them are the 2 losses to the Bengals. I think that kills them. Yeah, and I think you also look at the divisional records. Almost every, I think, if I'm not mistaken, all the other teams in the AFC North have either a 500 or less record within the division at this point, and the Bengals are 2-1. So if the Bengals can somehow scrape together at least 1, potentially 2 more wins and end, 4-2 in the division, I think that goes a long way, both seeding-wise and even making the playoffs. I think that goes a long way within that division too.
The moral of the story, though, Mickey, is none of that matters. Got to beat Tampa Bay this week, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to go down the path of a must-win, but you should. I mean, you don't want to put yourself behind the 8 ball, so you should take care of your business, win the games you're supposed to.
Take care of business. I like that mentality. Let's look ahead to this game against the Buccaneers. The Bengals have struggled in recent years going down to the new sombrero, the old pirate ship where the Bucs play. I believe the last time they were there, Bruce Gradkowski and John Gruden knocked off the Bengals. Can't remember what year it was. Might have been 06. But they have struggled down there. But if this team runs the football the way that they did on Sunday against the Texans, Mickey, this game won't even be close.
No, and you're getting dangerously close to my bold predictions in here, Nick. But yeah, they need to just run the ball. That takes the pressure off of everything. If you can, get 4, 5, 6 yards a carry, bust a big one every now and then, like they've done. That should take care of the game.
Do you have any fear, Scott, in Josh McCown?
Yes.
Really?
Yeah, I don't think he's that bad, and just in general, the Bengals. I think I saw they haven't won in Tampa Bay since 1989. I think 3-7, maybe their overall record against the Bucs. So, I still haven't. I don't have enough trust in this team yet to say that this is a what if Fade will call it a scrimmage. I don't have that type of trust in this team yet. So, um, I still, it's a game they should win, but I'm not counting it in the win column yet.
All right. So he has a little fear in Josh McCown. AC, how about you?
Well, Mike Evans has been playing phenomenal football for them, and that's something to be reckoned with, I guess, for that Bengals defense. And they have talent. For some reason, they're just not putting it together. Maybe the talent is at the skill positions and other positions that aren't as critical as some other positions on their roster. So maybe that's why they're losing football games. I don't know about this one. I think the key for the Bengals, aside from running the football, is I think you get a lead early, a pretty big lead early, and it kind of plants that seed in a bad team's mind that says, hey, all right, here we go again, we're losing. I mean, we saw the Bengals go through that for a decade and a half. And when a better team can do that to a lesser team, that's kind of a big thing. So I think that the Bengals need to get to a lead early. I do think the Bucs, if they are able to do that, I do think the Buccaneers may climb back a little bit into a game, but that's kind of the key to me. Just kind of punch them down early, and I think good things will happen from there.
From a defensive standpoint, Mickey, they're 20th in the NFL in rushing yards per game given up, and 22nd in the NFL in passing yards given up at 252 yards a game. So if you can display the type of balance that the Bengals displayed over the weekend with Dalton and the rushing attack, I mean, I just don't see this defense. I think I'm not concerned, I guess I should say.
Yeah, and that's kind of what's concerning, right? But I agree. This is a game on paper the Bengals should handle, and with the way their running game is and the way we've been stopping other offenses, it shouldn't be a stretch to have the Bengals win in this game.
Not to mention, Scott, 29th in rushing yards for the Tampa Bay offense. So not only are they struggling defensively, they're not great on the offensive side. So does that ease your concern any?
Well, I don't think the Bengals are going to have any trouble stopping the run. Doug Martin has disappeared from the NFL. Their running game in general is bad. But what does concern me is the two, and this is why McCown concerns me, is their two receivers. You got Vincent Jackson and Mike Evans. They're both 6'5", 230+ pounds. Mike Evans is a stud. This guy's on pace for 1,200 yards, 12 touchdowns. He's been having monster weeks the last couple of weeks. And as good as the Bengals secondary is, they don't have anyone size-wise that matches up with these guys. So, McCown can simply throw the ball up and let these guys go get it. So that's what concerns me. The run game I'm not that worried about.
Yeah, it's a great call on Evans too, primarily because the quarterback play has been so spotty this year for that team, and he's still putting up those numbers, which is kind of scary. Just a little side note I had, I've over the past months, and I just mentioned it even earlier in this show, talking about free agency and being active in free agency. You look at the Buccaneers, and that's probably the way a shining example as to why you don't want to be uber active into free agency, because a lot of times you tie your money up into players that don't end up making an impact for your team. Michael Johnson has kind of been playing okay. Anthony Collins, from what I hear, has been playing okay. The year before that, they invested heavily into Darrelle Revis, and they only basically rented him for a year and got rid of him. They also invested heavily in, Deshaun Goldson, the safety that was with the 49ers, and none of these guys are making huge impacts and winning football games for the Buccaneers. So in that respect, I kind of collapsed my own argument on itself with the free agency and being active there. But there is a rhyme and reason and a specific plan the teams need to utilize with free agency. And I think you kind of see diametric opposites, at least this offseason, with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers approach and the Bengals approach. And then you look at the standings in the win-loss column, and you kind of go, well, maybe there's some truth to being inactive in free agency.
Yeah, sticking to your guns and build the team through the draft. And I think that the formula has worked for the Bengals since Marvin has returned. And when we've seen them make splashes in free agency, typically I can't recall a good splash that they made that really panned out. Maybe I'm drawing a blank here. Mickey, I see you're thinking about it too. But look, the way I look at it, the way the defense is playing for the Bengals right now, what are they doing really well? And that they're keeping the play in front of them. They're not getting beat deep. They're not getting beat over the top, Mickey. I think that's a huge credit to what Paul Gunther's done calling the game plan. But, you guys like Jones, Newman, he came back, and I thought he did a pretty good job on Andre Johnson over the weekend. And DeAndre Hopkins can fly, yet nothing was done or nothing was beat over the top. Nelson's playing well, Aloka's playing well. That's why, for me, I'm not at all concerned about Evans and why am I drawing a blank on their other wide receiver, Vincent Jackson. I guess I think that if they continue to just keep the play in front of them, they're going to be all right.
Yeah, and Nick, to your point, I don't think that defensive scheme was more evident than in the Saints game. Look, I don't know if you got a chance to watch the Saints game last night, but they were throwing the ball all over the Ravens, and you didn't see any of that against the Bengals. Sure, Drew Brees was completing these short passes, but nothing was getting behind them. And when guys would catch the ball, they were getting hit, and that's one thing you're seeing. From these safeties and these DBs. Our DBs are pretty sure tacklers, and our safeties are coming up hitting, and that helps in the the passing game as well as the run game. So yeah, just keep the play in front of you. That's kind of the backbone of the bend but don't break defense, and we're seeing it executed pretty well by the Bengals lately.
I got for as bad as they were, Scott, against Cleveland. You got to give some credit to Paul Gunther. Going back, I think the addition of Maluga certainly has helped. But from calling the game standpoint, they're not getting a large amount of pressure just rushing forward. That is a little disconcerting. But I think that if you just contain the opposing offense and don't get beat deep, you're going to be all right. I really am not concerned about Tampa Bay's offense. It also helps they're 2-10 or whatever the record is.
Yeah, don't let the record deceive you, though. This Buccaneers team is better than their record indicates. They are not Bill Parcells. They are not what their record says they are. They're a better team than that. But I hear your point. And to add on to your point, I'd say that the defense didn't really play that terrible against Cleveland. They were just on the field the whole game. The Browns had 170 yards, but it took them 50-some runs to get there. So, that was more a product of just an exhausted defense than anything. So, I hear you, Nick. I
guess that's the typical, and I cannot blame you. We've seen it how many times as Bengals fans we go into a game we're expecting to win. I mean, we saw it just a couple weeks ago against the Browns, and then they go and lay an egg. A lot of factors played into that game. Short week, prime time, I get it. But this is a different beast. I think they go into Tampa Bay, and they take care of business. We'll get to what the four of us are thankful for a little bit later on during our shout-outs, before our shout-outs. But before we do that, I think it's time we get a little bold here on Inside the Jungle.
Hey, ladies, quit your babbling, because now's the time in the show when all the boys pull out their cojones and make bold predictions.
Before we do bold predictions, I am a terrible host. I completely forgot.
Jeremy Hill, who did a pretty darn good job.
I don't know what's going on there. Okay. I thought, let's try this again. Thanks, ESPN, for having that audio up. Let's try this again. Joffrey, Kentucky, thank you for holding here on Inside the Jungle.
Hey, what's up, Nick?
He was on hold for 9 minutes. Oh, that was so worth the truck horn. Oh, gosh, I'm so sorry, John. Thank you for holding. What are you thankful for?
What am I thankful for? Regarding the Bengals?
Yeah.
I guess maybe they've won 2 games in a row. Cincinnati's lucky to have an NFL team. That's the only thing that comes to mind at the moment.
Okay.
Hey, I'd rather drive there to watch a football game than I would someplace else, because they're the closest stadium that we live to. So I'm still waiting waiting on a playoff win. But nevertheless, one day at a time, one game at a time. I got to slow down. I understand.
Fair enough.
And I think we do beat Tampa Bay this weekend. Surely we can. And, our other opponents in our division, I think, have some tough games coming up. I think the Ravens play San Diego. I could be wrong. I think they do. It's not this week. It's next week. And Pittsburgh has got to play the Saints, which I think the Saints are due for a win. And, of course, there's Cleveland against Buffalo. So I think Cincinnati should at least have the easiest game of those, of these teams in the AFC North. I can't remember a division in my life where every team almost has the same record right now. Can you remember that, Nick?
It's pretty crazy. I don't know if it's ever happened. It's possible that it may have happened, but yeah,
it hasn't. Not with winning records like this. No, it hasn't.
Yeah, I mean it's just what it means is one division is really bad, and that's the NFC South, and yeah, so I think it's pretty cool. I'm glad we're on the good side of that, having the good division.
Right. I mean, I think the division leader in the NFC South is like, what, 4-7?
Yes.
4-7. Gosh, we need to be in that division. I mean, that would be a great division for us. Why do we have to be in the same division that Pittsburgh and Baltimore's in? We just got a raw deal.
Hey, man.
I felt about that.
To be the best, you got to beat the best, John.
Yeah, that's true. Hey, we have beaten the best. We've beaten the Ravens twice. So, people can put down the Bengals all they want and talk about the Ravens. Yeah, but the Ravens are so great, how come they lost to the Bengals twice? So that's a great question. But I could go on all night. But like I said, one game at a time. Happy Thanksgiving to everybody, first of all. Have a great holiday. And just one game at a time. Let's beat Tampa Bay this weekend, then we'll just take it from there next week. The team is looking better.
That's right. Happy Thanksgiving to you, John. Safe travels.
All right. Take care.
Rude, that's John from Kentucky. Yeah, completely forgot John was on hold. Kudos to him. Yeah, I'm a bad host. Let's get back to bold predictions, shall we? I'll start with you, Mickey. Give us your bold prediction for Sunday against the Bucs.
I think I was spot on last week, Nick. All my predictions, run together, but I think my prediction was no sacks, and that's a tall order against that Houston line. So this week I'm going to go a little general again, but I'm going to go. I think the Bengals have 210 all-purpose yards from their running back duo. I'm going to say Gio and Hill. I don't know whether it's catches, runs, but I think that they're going to put up a significant number this week.
200, and did you say 210?
210, because I didn't want to just go 200.
All right. 210 combined. That's passing, receiving, and rushing for our running backs.
Yeah.
I like it. They weren't too far off over the weekend.
No, I mean, I think it's definitely doable.
So Mickey's going all-purpose yardage for our backs, 210 plus. Scott Bantel, bold prediction for Sunday.
Well, the Bengals have 14 sacks on the season, so if you're not good at math, that's just slightly more than one per game. They are beating only the Oakland Raiders when it comes to sacks. I have the Bengals getting 5 sacks on Sunday. 5.
I like it. Yeah, they definitely, it should have been 2 sacks over the weekend, but Carlos Dunlap whiffed. Not sure what he missed early in that game. He should have had Ryan Mallett dead to rights, and he somehow managed to whiff on that sack. I like that. I hope to see 5 or more sacks. That would be fantastic. Anthony Cosenza, bold prediction for Sunday.
As I mentioned earlier, actually, the Bengals did pretty well on all of our predictions. I think my bold prediction last week was a pretty pedestrian game from J.J. Watt, and for the most part, aside from some stuffs on runs, I think he was pretty limited in his impact. So I'm hoping to ride that prediction machine again this week, and I'm going to say the former Bengals, who are now on the Buccaneers roster, have terrible games. I think Anthony Collins gets lit up by whatever defensive end he is guarding, and I think that Michael Johnson has very minimal impact as well, with Marshall Newhouse combining to help limit him. So I will say 0 sacks again given up by the Cincinnati Bengals. I'll kind of piggyback a little bit on Scott Bantel's prediction, and I'll say 3 or more sacks by the defense. So 0 given up and 3 or more by the defense.
All right. I like it. That's a good one. I'm going to go real bold. Here. Mickey, you're going to be the only one from an offensive standpoint with the bold prediction. I'm going to go Bengals shut them out. They pitch a 0 points against the Bucs this week. Let's just hope that Dalton doesn't throw a pick six. But I'm just saying.
Wow, that is bold. That's bold.
But I'm going shutout. I think they can do it, Mickey.
I hear you, John. I mean, Nick.
What? Oh, come on now. Hey, look, that play shouldn't have counted. It should not have counted. We all know that. But I'm going shutout. Love to see your bold predictions here in the chat room. I'm just reading some of these. Trying not to be mean. Fatal Content says Bengals score 28 in the first quarter. I like that one. He also says Malaluga will have a pick six and 16 tackles. All right. Chase Lee, Gino with 2 sacks. Let's see here. Fatal Content, Clark gets a sack. Will Clark. Okay. So yeah, give me your bold predictions here if you're in the chat room. You're watching us live. We'll continue to read those through the end of the program, which we'll be wrapping up here in just a minute. Before we do shout-outs, AC, what are you thankful for this year as far as the Bengals go?
I'll go one kind of generic and one specific. The generic one is just that we are now in a 4th year in a row that the Bengals are in the playoff hunt. They're in it. We so easily forget how bad this team was for so many years. I'm hopeful that the Bengals kind of start stringing together years of good football as they did bad football in the 90s and early 2000s. So I guess I'm thankful that, we sit here and we critique and we criticize certain players, but all in all, they're one of the better teams in the AFC at this point yet again. So I'm thankful for that. And specifically this year, I'm thankful for Jeremy Hill. I think he brings a much-needed dynamic and boost to this offense. I think they've slowly built up that offense, and they did it more on the passing side. And I think that Jeremy Hill is just that hard-nosed guy that Marvin Lewis has always talked about needing and wanting in this division, that bruiser type of back that can really carry a team. And luckily they are, though they're giving him significant carries of late, they are still kind of saving him and hopefully avoiding some injuries and wear and tear on him for the long term. So those are my 2 things.
That's a good one. I'm very thankful as well because you're right. It wasn't that long ago that this team was the laughingstock of the NFL. And so, yes, I'm glad to see that they are a perennial contender here in the AFC North. TC from Dovey says his bold prediction is that we run for over 225 yards and 3 touchdowns. John's going really bold. John from Kentucky says Nugent sets a new distance record for a field goal. He's saying 69 yards. That would be pretty bold. I like it, though. I'm a kicker. I like those. Mickey Menser, what are you thankful for this year as far as the Bengals go?
I'm gonna go bold in my thankfulness too, Nick. I kind of piggyback Anthony. I'm thankful for some of these are personal reasons, but I'm thankful for Bengals ownership. I think that Mike Brown has finally relinquished some of the control. I think the people that he has surrounding him, they're still family, are making some really good decisions. I'm thankful that Katie Blackburn thinks we're awesome and invites me to cool events. So I'm thankful, and it kind of goes along the same lines where because of the good decisions that the organization's making, we're no longer the laughing stock, and we are talking playoffs every season, which is pretty freaking awesome.
It's very awesome. It's very awesome. Solid choices there. Solid reasons to be thankful, Mickey. I like those. Before we get to Scotty, another bold prediction here from Lenny Rolson, who, by the way, the Rolson family was in attendance in Houston. They all gave us a call over the weekend during the post-game show. That was pretty cool to hear from them. Lenny Rolson's bold prediction, Green and Sanu both get 2 touchdowns. That would be pretty awesome. Scotty B, what are you thankful for this year as far as the Bengals go?
I hate to keep saying the same thing, but I had my thankful written down before we even started, and it was basically the exact same is the consistency that this organization has shown. I remember, it feels like yesterday when I had season tickets back in the 90s, early 2000s, and you get the 4 or 5 wins and you feel like you had a successful season. And we're going on 4 out of 5 years making the playoffs. We're hoping for 5 out of 6. Since Lewis has taken over, we've had 2 or 3 losing seasons, and the rest we've been 5 above. So, I know they're not getting it done in the playoffs like we want, but it's so nice to be talking playoffs every year as opposed to starting talking about the draft in October or early November. Normally at this
Who were
point in
picking
time,
number 1 overall?
Yeah, exactly. So so I'm thankful for the management seems to have made some changes, and it seems to be working. You take a look at drafting and overall success in the last couple of years, they're one of the best organizations.
Solid. I think I echo those same sentiments. The things that I'm thankful for, as far as the Bengals go, I cannot be more thankful for, the fact that they have turned it around, and very thankful for that. I think it's pretty obvious. I'm thankful for these 3 guys here on the program with me each and every week. What they do is fantastic, and the show would not be as good without them, and I cannot thank them enough for what they do for this program. So, guys, I'm thankful for you 3. I'm very thankful for the fans of this show, the support that you have given me, my 3 amigos here, everybody here at the podcast has been tremendous, and whether it's the tweets, the emails, the Patreon patronage has been just absolutely incredible. Thank you for that, and I sincerely. I'm very thankful for everything that you do as a listener to the show, and can't thank you enough for that. That's what I'm thankful for, and I go back to my 3 amigos here. Thank you, guys. You guys are awesome.
That was precious, Nick, and I'm so appreciative. No, seriously, thank you. And for me as a fan, I was a fan, then I became an editor and writer for the site, and now this adds a different dimension to me, and I'm thankful for it as well. You do a great job, as to you 2 guys, and I'm sure you want to say your pieces as well.
Oh, absolutely. Thanks, Nick. Just appreciate doing the show. You put it together. You do a great job. Thankful to be on here. I almost got a tear in my mustache. Thank you.
Did it taste salty?
Yes, it did.
No.
Yeah, it's fun, Nick. Another year we keep doing this stuff.
I know. It's been a blast, man. I can't believe how long it's been. We can keep it going, though. It's awesome.
It's a good ride.
Before we do shout-outs, give me a quick score prediction. AC, start with you.
I'm going to say it's going to be a little bit of a shootout. I'm going to say 31-23 Bengals, and it's going to be Bengals get off to a decent lead early and probably through halftime and into the third quarter, and then because the Buccaneers are forced to play catch-up, they'll kind of get some garbage stats and garbage points throughout the last part of the game. But Bengals still win 31-23.
All right, 31-23 for AC. Mickey, how about you?
I'm gonna go 24-10. I think the Buccaneers get in the end zone once, but they're not going to do much of anything.
All right, so it's a pretty close scoreline to what AC had to say. How about you, Scotty?
I'm going to go 33-23. I think the wide receiver duo of the Bucs give the Bengals a little bit of a scare. Not enough, though. I'd say a comfortable 10-point win.
38-zip. Boom. That's right. I'm going bold in my score prediction as well.
Whoa.
Hey, man. They're due for a kind of a big shellacking. They had it last year with the Jets game. I think they're due for kind of a big kind of blowout game. They haven't had one since what? Against Atlanta this year, earlier in the season?
Yeah, the first 3 games, yeah.
So they're due for one of those. So I'm going to go 38-zip. The Bengals win, and they finally win there down in Tampa. Let's do some shout-outs.
Shout-outs!
Start with you, AC.
I might be stealing this one, so I apologize if I am, but I'm going to shout out the Rolson family. I listened to the post-game show and saw that they were down in Houston, or heard that they were down in Houston, and they were calling in. It's Lenny and Larry, and I'm probably forgetting the 2 or 3 others that always listen and call in to
Richard.
the show. Richard, yeah. So they are avid listeners of the show. They seem to be a very tight-knit family. One of them, I think it's Larry or Lenny, lives in, I think, Huntington Beach, which is really close to where I live. So shout out to the Rolsons. And I also want to shout out, as weird as it sounds, John Skelton. John Skelton was a guy on Twitter that photo captioned Jadeveon Clowney offsides on that pick six, and people were crediting me for tweeting that out. And I actually got to give credit to John Skelton that initially put that out there and kind of opened my eyes to that play a little bit. So those are my shout-outs.
I was tweeting that he was offside before the snap. If you go and look at my timeline, I actually tweet out right end offside. And yeah.
Shout out to you too, then, Nicholas.
And then I saw the tweet though from John Skelton. And I was like, is that the same John Skelton that somewhat played quarterback for the Bengals a little bit? So yeah, I saw that too. I thought that was pretty cool. Good shout out, Mickey. How about you?
I was pumped for this shout out, Nick, until I started to try to say this dude's name. But we got a nice little tweet. I'm probably stealing some of your thunder here from Belgium. Dieter. Man, a lot of consonants. Schwartfager. He supports, your show on the Patreon, and then added loves the positive attitude of me on the podcast, which I love hearing that. So that's a shout out to you, man.
I think you're pretty close on that name, Dieter Schwartfager.
There's an awful lot of consonants in a row, man.
If we're butchering that, we apologize, Dieter. But thank you. That's a good shout out, Mickey. I agree with you, and thank you for your support on Patreon as well, Dieter. Scotty B, shout out.
Got a couple this week. I got a couple people who are normally pretty active in the comments on Cincy Jungle. Whether they agree with me or not, I appreciate they're on there reading. So I guess shout out for Mismanagement, Mind Drifter, and the Van Buren Boys. And then my man Fatal Content. He asked for a shout out. He deserves a shout out. Good follow on Twitter and a good caller. So shout out to Fatal.
Yes, good shout out, Scotty. I'm going to go, this was kind of an interesting shout-out. As you know, I record the show, the post-game show on Sundays, and a lot of times after I wrap up, I'll notice that people call in, and a lot of times, I just, for whatever reason, I'm trying to get the show edited and published, and I don't answer. I kind of let it just go to voicemail. But this week, for whatever reason, the show had ended. I was like, I literally just hit the stop button. So I picked up the phone. And this gentleman called. He was calling from L.A. He was disappointed that the show had just ended because it takes him an hour to get home. But his name is Rick, and he wanted to shout out, wanted me to give a shout out this week to the 5 Line Bar in Eagle Rock, California. It's a Bengals bar. There's 50 to 60 Bengals fans there watching every Sunday, and he loves the show. And he wanted to shout out to all those Bengal fans there in California. So, Rick and everybody there at the 5 Line Bar in Eagle Rock, here's your shout out. And hooday to you in California. That is pretty cool to hear that there are 50 to 60 of you each and every week out there. Maybe we can get AC. How far is Eagle Rock from you, AC?
Colorado?
California.
Oh. I have no idea. I'd have to look that up.
Anaheim and L.A.
Oh, that's really close then. Yeah, so that's probably. I mean, in California, you got to gauge for traffic at all times. I'd say it's probably anywhere from 45 minutes to an hour away. So I may have to check that out.
Yeah, not to have AC make an appearance out there at the 5 Line Bar. So shout out to you, Rick, and thank you for your call and thanks for calling. Appreciate you digging the show. If you want to have a shout out here on the podcast. Check us out. You can follow me on Twitter at Nick Sterling. Where can they follow UAC?
At CJ Anthony CUI.
Mickey?
At Houday Fans.
Last but not least, Scotty B. You're muted. It's like we do this. This is like an annual occurrence. Or did he freeze again? Did he freeze again?
At Scott Bantel.
There you go. Thanks,
Dude's got to pay his internet bill. This is unbelievable.
Before we get out of here again, happy Thanksgiving. Hope everybody has a happy and safe Thanksgiving. If you want to support the show, You can check us out over at Patreon, spnt.tv/Patreon. For those of you who don't know, I'm experimenting with the show in the month of December. I'm experimenting with making it a daily show. Mondays are going to be a recap. Tuesday is going to be media day, where I try to interview a local media personality that covers the Bengals. Wednesday we'll cover the opponent. Thursday will be our typical Wednesday night roundtable show. And then Friday will be some sort of fantasy football themed show. And then on Sunday we'll have our postgame show. Going to experiment with it to see if this is something that I could make happen next fall. If you want access to those shows, spnt.tv/Patreon. $1 gets you access to 20 additional shows in the month of December. That's all it takes. So if you get in there, spnt.tv/Patreon. And I love your feedback. If you like what the show is in the monthly format, I would love your feedback. So it's an experiment to see if this is something that we can continue moving forward during the season next fall. Final thoughts as we wrap up, Mickey Mentzer.
It's fun. I mean, I'm pumped for Thanksgiving. There's actually some decent football on. The first game not so great, but the next two games are division battles with winning records. It should be good. So I'm going to eat until it hurts and watch football.
Nice. Happy Thanksgiving to you and your family, buddy.
Thanks, man. You too.
Scotty B, final thoughts. Hopefully you don't freeze up on us.
Yeah, I'm not muted, not frozen, so excited. I love Thanksgiving. The food, I'm not a huge Thanksgiving Day food guy, but I love the football all day long, so really happy about that, and happy Thanksgiving to you guys.
Final thoughts, AC. I know you got to get going. You got a family affair. Thanks for rearranging tonight. Happy Thanksgiving to you and your family.
Hey, everybody knows what the priorities are in Anthony's life. You know what I mean? I'm looking forward to putting on the fat guy pants this week, getting some food in me, and watching some football like you guys. Nick, I don't want to speak for the other guys, but I'm pretty confident in saying if you ever need some assistance with that daily show and want some contributions from myself or the other guys, I'm sure we'll be happy to assist in that area. And yeah, happy Thanksgiving to you guys. It sounds cheesy and tacky, but I am thankful to be on this show. It's a cool outlet for us that follow the team and write for the team, and it's a lot of fun. We carve out time to do it because we like it. So happy Thanksgiving, guys.
Thanks, AC. Yeah, I mean, again, the door is open. You guys are more than welcome to hop on those daily shows. I know everybody's busy with what they got going on. I know Mickey's got kids, Scott's got kids, so I don't want to. I mean, as it is, I feel like I'm tearing you guys away from your families on Wednesday nights. So I'm super appreciative and thankful for one night a week, let alone 5 or 6 nights a week. The door is always open. So please, by all means, if you want to help out, I would definitely like that. Again, if you want access to those daily shows, they start on Monday, beginning with Steelers week. So again, check it out, spnt.tv/Patreon. All it takes is $1, and you'll get access to those to the daily shows here in the month of December. That's going to do it. Episode 173 is in the can. Enjoy the game. Bengals got to go on the road. They got to keep it going down to Tampa. Don't forget, you can join us immediately following the game on Sunday for Inside the Jungle post game as well. Inside the Jungle is an SPNT production. For more information about our other podcasts, log on to spnt.tv. And as always, check out all the great content over at cincyjungle.com. Those guys are doing it. Tech Mobile Future coming your way soon. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. We'll see you. Hooray! You should, Mickey.
That'd be great. Because Steelers have more moronic video bloggers on YouTube than anyone I've seen, and I could just have a field day with that.
Oh my God, I can't stand there. That honestly, the team is. I already don't like the team, but honestly, the fans are what makes me. Yeah.
I banned one today from Cincy Jungle.
Nice.
Bandhammer out. Nice.
Well, because he was trolling.
I gotta go, guys. Sorry.
Good.
Good chatting with you guys. Have a good holiday. I'll talk to you soon.
Nick, he was trolling.
Yeah.
So then I'm going to give him a warning, and I see that he was already banned from Behind the Steel Curtain and a couple others. So I'm like, man, if your own site's banning you,
jeez, yeah.
I'm not even gonna play.
That's ridiculous.
Yep.
I'm coming down tomorrow, man.
All right.
First stop is Skyline.
Yeah.
I'm
nothing
not
says
kidding.
nothing says Thanksgiving like some chili on some spaghetti.
Man, like before I even get to my folks' house, I'm there. Shows you where my priorities are.
Mm-hmm.
Nick, are there no skylines up in Toledo?
The closest one is Lima.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah. It's kind of a bummer, but it's an hour, so it's not really worth it.
I used to go to that one.
It depends. If we're on our way back up north, and if we leave like right around lunchtime from Cincy, like we'll stop at that one. It's kind of like right in the middle. But yeah, I mean, it's like, oh man, I wish there was one closer. They had one in Bowling Green when I was a student, but it didn't last.
Yeah, that's the one. I used to go to that Lima one when I was in law school at Ohio Northern. That was like 15, 20 minutes away.
Before I jet out of here, Mickey, what are you doing for Saturday?
No idea.
You're not going to watch Ohio State, Michigan?
I mean, I am, but it's just a neighborhood thing we usually do.
Oh yeah. Cool.
So yeah, I mean, just I'll be around. Why are you doing something?
No. I don't care for that game, but I just was curious because I know you're a big fan.
You don't care for that game.
I'll be watching.
Care for that game, Nick?
I'll be watching Notre Dame USC.
Yeah,
I have no dog in the fight on Saturday. You know,
Has anyone tweeted you mean things when Notre Dame's lost?
No.
I was just wondering.
They've also lost a lot more, so yeah.
It's true.
Boomers
They're kind of on a streak.
falling apart, Nick.
They're hitting a rough patch. Oh well. But yeah, I'll be down there this week. I'm looking forward to some Skyline.
That's something to be thankful for.
Kind of bummed that's right. Kind of bummed I have to go into work tonight. But the good news is when I get home in the morning, I am on Thanksgiving break. So
I was going to say, you probably don't, that's your last day of work, right?
I'll come home, I'll work on the posting the episode. But yeah. We're going to see. I don't know how this daily show is going to work out. I'm kind of nervous about it.
What time are you running at?
It's not going to be live. I'll do most of the stuff like the day before. So like Tuesday, the episode will go up. It'll go up on the Patreon site. Because it's just a test. I don't want to release this to everybody yet because I don't know. I don't want to I don't know. I'm nervous. But Monday afternoon, I'm meeting up with Jeff Hobson for the Tuesday Media Day show.
Okay.
So if you guys wanted to hop on, we're recording at 8 o'clock on Monday night.
Okay.
So
just schedule like the day before.
What do you mean?
Just so we know, like, if we're free, we can. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean the plan. What I'm gonna do, because what I do is I come home in the morning, and I'll most likely just work on publishing the audio and getting all that taken care of, and then posting it in the morning, and then sleeping during the day until the kids come home, and then I'm probably not going to start anything until after 4. I know you guys work, so I don't even know what time you guys get home.
5.
Yeah.
I'm usually home by 5.
So like Tuesday at 6:30, I'm talking with Neil Coulong.
Ugh.
Right. So it's completely up to you guys. If you want to hop on, you can. If you can't, I totally get that too. I mean, I know it's kind of last minute throwing it at you too, but this is more, like I said, more of an experiment more than anything, because I have no idea how this is going to turn out and if my body is going to be able to handle the lack of sleep. So.
Right.
Yeah.
It'll be cool.
Nick, I'll help out whenever I can, or whenever you need me. Let me know.
All right. Yeah, I'll keep you guys posted with what's going on. The Wednesday night show is going to stay the same. I mean, we're still going to do that at 8 o'clock on Wednesday night. That'll still go up on Thursday morning, and that'll still go on the Jungle site. I mean that and the post game show aren't going to change. It's the other stuff. Because I feel like with me working third shift, like we're crunched for time. Like when we have guests on, the shows would go like an hour 20, and it's like me, like I really should be running out of here right now, but I just feel like we're missing out on a lot because of me and my work schedule, and I hate that. Like I feel like we should have Jeff Hobson. I know you've talked about having Mary Kay Cabot from Cleveland on. I think this is where the Daily Show could really come in handy. It gives us more opportunity to give more content that we're missing out on because of my limitations.
Yeah.
Mickey, you should tell management that Nick needs to be doing the Bengals Monday morning show instead of Chick Ludwig.
I know.
Is it
Do you
bad?
listen
Seriously.
to that ever? Oh
Nope.
God, it's terrible, Nick. Nick, you need to put it on iHeartRadio sometime just to hear it.
It's bad.
It is.
All right, fellas, I'm gonna jump.
Yeah, I got to go pack my lunch as well. Happy Thanksgiving, Mickey, Scott.
Happy Thanksgiving, guys.
Later.
Thank you.
See
Bye,
ya.
everybody.